So recently, I got inspired by this guy, Analog Money Project. I even sent him an email to be in the potential project he's working on, and I decided I want to try my hardest to do eBay again. I've always done it here and there, have a good account, but I decided I wanted to go hard selling. I decided to start with stuff around my house, and the first thing that I sold was this PSA 8 Red Eyes Black Dragon. Now you might be wondering, how do I have this if I sold it? Well, that's where a story comes in. Let me show you.
So after messaging back and forth with the buyer, he said that he would accept the offer, so I sent him the offer. But if you look at this post, I copied it from a previous listing and there's something wrong with it. If you look here, you can see that the title clearly says first edition, but if you know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh cards, that's not a first edition. So of course I didn't realize I listed it that way. The buyer shot me a message and let me know it was labeled first edition in the title. So of course I refunded him, but it didn't stop there. So I found out even if you accept a return on eBay and during that process you update your return address, they still send their return to the address that was on file when the order was placed. So the card got sent back to my mom's house in Houston instead of to me in Dallas. But she sent it to me, and I talked to eBay customer service and got like a coupon to make up for having to pay for the refund shipping twice. So, not the end of the world. Moral of the story here is if you're going to start selling on eBay and you already have an account set up, maybe it's older like mine was, make sure that your return address is listed as your accurate address before you sell your first item so you don't go through the same hassle. So the next thing I sold was this Yu-Gi-Oh! Obelisk the Tormentor Funko Pop. I had a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh! Funko Pops. This was the one that was worth the most, so I went ahead and sold it first. So the buyer paid 70. After taxes and fees, I was left with 63.39. Then you minus the 716 I had to spend on pirate ship. I talked to the buyer off of eBay. He was interested in 4 other Yu-Gi-Oh! Funko Pops I had: Dark Magician, Yami Yugi, Kaiba, and Exodia. I sold them all to him for $60 minus 812 on pirate ship, left me with 51.88. Next thing I sold was this Yu-Gi-Oh! Starter Deck Pegasus Spanish Edition, sold for $54 plus $6 shipping. You can see here after fees and the 616 I spent on pirate ship, I was left with $40.44. So you might be noticing I already sold 2 Yu-Gi-Oh! Things, and there's going to be a few more in this video. Maybe if you're like me and you're trying to get started on eBay, you're gonna try selling stuff around your house. The reason I sold Yu-Gi-Oh stuff is because that's what I have. So what do you have? Do you collect sports cards? Do you collect video games? Collect shoes? Whatever you have that you have laying around that you're not using, wearing, whatever the case may be, use that to get yourself started on eBay and look for things that maybe you could add value to. Like I found cards, graded them myself, and increased the value based on cards that I already had. Because they're graded, they sold for more. Maybe for you that's video games, music equipment. What stuff do you have laying around? Electronics, music equipment, collectible stuff, those things sell really well. So figure out what you have, what you can sell, and get started. Next was this Whatever Happened to Baby Jane sealed VHS. I bought this at the thrift store for $1 with the intention of reselling it. You can see here it sold for $7.35. I had to pay $4.13 to ship it on pirate ship media mail, so I was left with $3.22. The next thing was this Nightwing action figure I had laying around. I listed it for $12 free shipping, so that's about what they were going for. Ended up bringing in $8.48, but I had to subtract $6.09 for what it cost to ship it, so I only made $2.39. So this was definitely not a good sale, but sometimes you have to sell these lower dollar items just so that you can see what you're actually left with after fees and shipping. I only made a couple dollars off of this, but I was happy to get rid of it. We're moving, so I'm really trying to get rid of random stuff laying around. But don't be afraid to get rid of something, only make a couple dollars, but use it to learn. Hey, if this thing sells for around $10 shipped, that means I'm only going to make $5 or less at the best, depending on where it's going and stuff like that. So, you know, do stuff and just learn from it. Next thing I sold was this PSA 10 Genzo from Yu-Gi-Oh's 25th anniversary reissues. I had opened some boxes to make the set collection myself, and I had a couple of these, so I graded one and it got the 10. I was able to sell it for 110. After fees and shipping and everything, I was left with 87.51. This next one was another card that I graded myself, Blue Eyes White Dragon from CT14. It got the PSA 10, so I was able to sell it for 130 plus shipping. Um, so you can see here after fees and everything, I was left with 103.48. And I found this card in my bulk cards and took the risk, graded it, really paid off. Next thing I sold was this Shure microphone that I've had for years. It was my dad's. It sold super fast. I was able to sell it for 110 after fees and shipping and everything. I was left with 91.37. Really good sale. Look out for this type of stuff. Next thing was this Tech Deck Delmar pool that I've had for a while. I had heard these sold pretty good, so I figured I'd go ahead and throw it up. Sold for $50 free shipping. After fees and everything, I ended up paying $4.75 for shipping, and after everything, I was left with 35.13. So I didn't mention it. I figured I'd come back and let you guys know. If you pay close attention, I actually paired the Tech Deck bowl with a collector's edition Christian Hosoi Hammerhead Tech Deck. So it's a rare, desirable Tech Deck that went for like 20 bucks. And then the bowl would go for around 30. So I paired them together for 50. uh, they just kind of seem like they go together. And I thought combining two desirable items in a niche would help it sell, and it sold. So not bad. Look for stuff you can do like that, lotting things together, you know, adding value. Somebody who's looking for that kind of thing gets something else, doesn't have to spend too much money, you know, to help you sell stuff. Next up, I sold this lot of 3 graded Yu-Gi-Oh cards. They're all from Starter Deck Yu-Gi Evolution, so I lotted them together. They're not worth much on their own. As you can see, they sold for $75. Buyer paid $6.23 for shipping, and then I had to pay $4.55 for shipping, leaving me with $64.75 total. Next was another graded Yu-Gi-Oh card that I graded myself, along with the other couple that I showed you guys. This one was a little bit of a nightmare. It was international shipping, and the guy bought it with the incorrect address. So I talked to eBay. They had me relist it, change the title, and have the buyer correct his information and then buy it again. But it sold, and everything went smooth. As you can see, the buyer paid $147.50 plus $402 shipping, and after fees and everything, I was left with $127.02. Good sale. So on the graded cards, I kind of had a stack of cards that I thought I should maybe grade to try to get more money out of them. I'll show you guys the ones that I still have currently. Invasion of Chaos First Edition card, Special Edition Lava Golem, a First Edition PSA 7 Starter Deck Joey Red Eyes, the Adidas collab Dark Magician got the 7, and Quarter Century Rare Lava Golem from Rarity Collection 1. So as you saw, I already sold. Also with these, I graded the Genzo, the Blue Eyes, and the Ghost Rare Honest that you've seen in the video now. I spent a total of 125 to grade these 9 cards it was. And as you can see, I made about 80-90 on the Genzo, about 100-ish on the Blue Eyes, and then around 130-ish on the Honest. So I've already in the profit, and I've still got these to sell. Oh, I also had a PSA 9 Red Eyes in Spanish that one of my friends bought, so I already sent that out. So that's just more money to the pot. Call that about 50 bucks. So, if you have cards that are worth it, maybe spend the money to grade them so you can get some more money. I know people grade video games, sealed movies, things like that, comic books. So if you have things like that, do the research to figure out, is it worth it to pay the price to get them graded? How much can I get? You are taking a risk, so you got to kind of figure out how to evaluate these things and see if they're going to grade well enough that it's going to be worth the money and the time, because these things do take time. And this brings us back to where we started. I finally resold the PSA 8 Red Eyes, sold for $45 plus $6 shipping. After fees and everything, I was left with $36.53. So I went back and rewatched the whole video, added everything up, and this was the total, $749.95. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 125 for the cost of the cards that I graded recently. That brings it down to 624.95. Not bad for selling stuff that I already had around the house. So that's going to conclude the video. This pretty much catches me up to everything that I sold around the house, and stay tuned for the next video where I'm going to go over stuff that I sold from our trip to the Goodwill outlet. I've got a photo here to show you guys our haul. It's pretty good, and I've already sold a good bit of things already in the profit. First trip to the bins was a major success.